big thank you to the dozens, if not hundreds of you who emailed in to say, please carry on doing the phone show into your 10th year. We don't care if you don't look young or cool or trendy, though I do try with a shorter hair and new glasses. I'm trying. In the meantime, reviews, accessories, features and so forth going into 2015, starting with this, the Proporta Turbocharger 12,000. It's another of my semi-regular sponsored looks at Proporta's accessories. I love the company, but I'm always 100% honest about the products, and I only include stuff I can genuinely enthuse about. This is remarkably similar in size actually to today's phablet phones. In fact, not dissimilar to this Lumia 930 I have here. It's a little taller, a little chunkier and quite a bit heavier of course, but the capacity is truly impressive, enough to charge the average top-end 2014 smartphone at least 4 times over from scratch, and probably little Johnny's iPad mini and mummy's iPhone as well, as long as they bring along their lightning cables. There's one output here at 2.1 amps and one at 1 amp. It's finished in convex-edged rubberized plastic for a premium look and feel. The edges are metal effect plastic, and my fingers weren't fooled for a moment, but your eyes maybe. Hidden in the top face are 4 blue LEDs to indicate the charge state of this monster, plus there's an activate button here on the side to start charging. Although only a micro USB lead is included in the box, anything which charges from a USB connection can be accommodated, provided you have the relevant lead, etc. As usual, it's possible to find similar capacity chargers for half the asking price on the likes of eBay and Amazon, but you're then at the mercy of some Chinese company you've likely never heard of. If you go beyond Amazon's 30-day return policy, for example, you're stuffed. Well, buying from the UK-based Proporta gets you a lifetime warranty with no questions asked. Plus, you're supporting a local company on the south coast of Britain that likes to support charitable causes. Plus, there's free shipping. And on top of all that, even the most cursory browsing of the Proporta website, maybe I shouldn't say this, normally gets you a percentage off promo code for signing up to the email newsletter or similar. So you may be able to bring the cost down quite a bit further. Yes, Proporta is a part-time sponsor and I'm biased, but I've sworn by Proporta turbochargers for many years, and I'm happy to keep on recommending them with this, the Stripe Turbocharger 12,000. And so to my roughly biannual phone show top 5 here at Christmas 2014, where I picked the 5 devices across the whole price spectrum that I recommend newcomers and interested parties to start with. As usual, I wanted to put in something for everyone. Number 5. Now, I usually try to put in something different or controversial in at number 5, and I guess Windows Phone still falls into that camp, certainly in geek circles. I was tempted to put in my beloved Nokia Lumia 1020s, in and flash and all, but as some have pointed out, the 1020 is most likely to be found in bargain bins these days, in which case grab them. But for a mass market recommendation, the Lumia 830 takes some beating with a surprisingly capable OIS camera and Zeiss optics, and Microsoft's next-gen intelligent app Lumia Camera 5 imminent, as I write this. It can provide a very competitive photography experience with full shutter key, a terrific 5-inch display, replaceable battery, micro SD, glance screen, metal build, and all for not much more than about £250 all in. It's a canny choice. I'm convinced that RAM is critical on Android phones as we go into 2015. So many have just 1 gig of RAM, and with Android 5 imminent, I'm fed up with seeing budget or older devices, for example a friend's Galaxy S3, left high and dry in terms of RAM when trying to push them beyond the basics. In at number 4 in the Android world, I'd like to proffer the LG G2 as perhaps the perfect blend of performance, future-proofing, 1080p screen beauty and battery life. It's also now just below £250 all in SIM-free, and if you don't like LG's skin, there's always Get Cyanogen, etc. Why not the G3? Well, it's on the big side, on the battery-hungry side, thanks to the QHD screen, and around £100 more. Having reviewed the iPhone 6 Plus and Phone Show 238, how could I not include this in the top 5? It's by far the best and most flexible iPhone yet. The interface at last works in landscape mode as well as portrait, meaning that you can enjoy the 6 Plus as a tablet, media player, or even as part of a laptop-like setup armed with a Bluetooth keyboard. Add in an excellent camera and a blazingly fast processor, and the only catch is the price. If you have to ask it, then you can't afford it. In view of that iPhone price and in view of what's coming up at number 1 in a moment, I do feel I should keep expenditure down slightly for the number 2 spot. Stick a fast processor, 2 gig of RAM again, and what are now pretty good screens and cameras, along with a great design and build, a light Android skin on top, and you have the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. It really is the perfect size for almost everyone, and it will fulfill almost any mission, and it's not premium priced, coming in around just over £300 SIM-free. Now, I know I'm going to get flamed for this, but as with the iPhone 6 Plus, if price is no object, then my top recommendation has to be the phone with everything. Repeat, everything. This, the Galaxy Note 4, has the best screen, QHD, super bright AMOLED, and very accurate. The fastest processor, up to 2.7 gigahertz and 3 gig of RAM. A stylus that actually works quite well, unlike the Note 3s. One of the very best phone cameras, the classic 16:9 Note form factor that most people can just about live with, but all metalled up in terms of chassis and solidity, and yet with the replaceable battery and micro SD expansion that most of us love. Absolute flexibility. I'll be looking more at the Note 4 in the next phone show. Can I find any weaknesses at all in this Android behemoth? Yes, actually, but you'll have to wait till phone show 241 to find out what they are. The original LG G Watch was clearly first generation hardware, but still had its fans and attractions. And indeed, Android Wear and its firmware has continued to improve. But we now have second generation hardware from LG, and not to put too fine a point on it, the G Watch R is something of a disaster of a design. The point is perhaps made by looking at the G Watch R next to its predecessor. Yes, the new R for round design looks more like a traditional sports watch, but the older design looks more futuristic and, to be honest, a lot better fit for displaying Android notification information. Aside from pure cosmetics, there really was no reason whatsoever to use a circular interface. Although there are some plus points for the R revision, the reimagined G Watch here isn't exactly a leap forward for a number of reasons. Number one, the watch is much larger in every dimension than the original G Watch. I thought smartwatches were supposed to be getting smaller and thinner. Despite the G Watch R being much larger than the original, the screen is smaller and shows quite a bit less information, some with edges chopped off, as here, thanks to the circular design. The stopwatch bezel here is purely cosmetic, i.e. it doesn't rotate and is massive. The reason for its existence is something of a mystery. I'd first thought the display is really square from the specs with a circular viewport. However, press shots from the watch's launch do show the screen to be circular with electronics above and below, again prompting the question, why the heck the huge circular bezel? I.e. just fashion? The display stats are also interesting in a disappointing way, and it's higher resolution but physically quite a bit smaller than the original G Watches. The supplied strap is quite cheap leather, so it crinkles and cracks immediately. It's definitely not fully waterproof. Leather rarely is, of course, and it feels rather cheap in the hand compared to the silicone version on the original. To be fair, that's a subjective opinion for me. It's easy enough to buy and install a standard replacement strap, but for this premium product, for LG to have skimped on the strap quality is rather criminal. Bearing in mind all these points, the LG G Watch R is far too expensive, at well over £200 in the UK. This is into serious money territory, whereas the sweet spot for mass market adoption of smartwatches is around the £100, $100 mark, I think. I offered the G Watch R for £99, I think it would take off. At the current price, and bearing in mind some of my comments here, this Android accessory hasn't got a chance. Of course, it's not all bad news. You must be getting something for your money. The screen technology has been switched to AMOLED, meaning that true always-on display can be achieved by default minimal variant on the watch face chosen by the user. This works really well and avoids having to either have the watch screen on normally all the time or off completely until tapped or the right movement is detected, as on the original G Watch. Also new and working well, you'll have seen me pressing it, is this crown on the right hand side, placed where a winding movement would be on a traditional watch. Here it turns the display on fully, or minimises it again, or when long pressed brings up the elusive Android Wear settings menu, which is a very handy shortcut. Kudos to LG for the heart rate sensor built into the G Watch R's back. This uses a green LED and detector to look for pulses in blood flow beneath the skin of your wrist, and the resulting 10-second or so reading seems to be pretty accurate. As more Android applications are written to take advantage of the stats reported by the smartwatch, the extra sensor could be really useful and will certainly save you buying an extra heart rate sensor belt, for example. The latest Android Wear firmware does seem to pull in better battery life overall. I was easily getting 2 days of real-world use from the G Watch R. Ditto the original, by the way, with sensible brightness settings and latest firmware. As with the original LG G Watch, there's no ambient light sensor, so you have to compromise on a brightness setting that will work for you in both daylight and at night, which can be awkward, especially in the middle of the night or at the cinema. Are the innovations here enough to save the LG G Watch R overall? Well, not really, and especially not at this price. It really is a case of 1 step forward and 2 steps back, or 3 forwards and 6 back, depending on how you're counting. Oh yes, and I changed the watch face, just for you. When the original G Watch appeared, I declared I saw the idea as the future of wearables, even if the current implementation wasn't perfect. And I'm still of this opinion, in fact, even more so with this rather monstrous and expensive appendage. Look, LG, just take the original G Watch design and the nice silicone strap, make the display AMOLED, take the R's heart rate sensor, and then most of all use mass market economics to bring the cost down to £99 in the shops. And then we'd see LG's smartwatch take off. Then we'd see people wearing these things on buses and trains and in cars. The future awaits LG and Android Wear, but it's not there yet.